"Your son's too loud for the main table," my sister said with a smile. Her kids were seated already. Mine stood there, embarrassed. I simply took his hand and left. That night, I canceled the fully paid 5-day ski trip. 2 days later, she asked, "When do we leave?" I responded with, "Welcome to Sparrow Tallas." You know that feeling? When betrayal hits you so casually, so innocently, that it takes your breath away. For me, it wasn't a whisper. It was a single, dismissive sentence at my sister's perfectly curated wedding that shattered everything. The day started like a dream, Madison's dream, specifically. An open-air garden ceremony, straight out of a magazine. Custom string quartet, imported roses, and this absolutely ridiculous crystal chandelier they'd somehow rigged into a tree. It was her vision, and honestly, I was genuinely happy for her. She looked stunning, her kids like little catalog models in their bow ties and gelled hair. Everything about the day screamed curated perfection, except, apparently, for my son. We were walking towards the reception, Liam, my 6-year-old, holding his little toy car in one hand and the hem of my dress in the other. He wasn't loud, just buzzing with that pure, unadulterated excitement only a kid can have. He kept asking when we'd finally get to eat. I spotted the main table, where the family was already gathered, and we started heading that way. That's when Madison intercepted us. She was smiling. Not the normal, joyful smile you give people at your wedding. No, this was the smug, quiet smile I hadn't seen since we were teenagers, the one she'd use when telling me my dress looked cheap or my friends were weird. She glanced down at Liam, then back at me. "Your son's too loud for the main table. Mine are already seated." Then she turned, just like that, as if she had a million other things to do, which she probably did. But it didn't matter. The message had already hit me like a physical blow. I looked over and saw the place cards for her kids, front and center, right next to our parents. Meanwhile, Liam and I were apparently meant to sit at a flimsy fold-out table near the DJ booth. No tablecloth, no proper place settings, the kind of table they use for staff or vendors, half shoved against the wall, practically in the hallway. Liam didn't say anything. He just stood there, staring at the other kids, laughing and eating bread rolls. My heart ached for him. My blood simmered. But I didn't argue. I didn't make a scene. I just took his hand and walked out. We left before dinner was served. We didn't wait for the cake. I didn't take a single picture. I just left the wedding gift on the table, a crisp, clean envelope with $500 inside. Even though I knew that in her circle, that would be seen as a slap in the face. I didn't care. Not anymore. I had already paid for something far more generous. Something she was counting on. A 5-day ski trip in Aspen for the entire family. First-class flights, the best cabin they offered, passes, rentals, everything. It was supposed to be a joint family trip. Madison had been dropping hints about it for months. My parents were in. My sister had already bought new gear. And of course, they all knew I was paying. That night, I sat in bed, staring at the reservation on my laptop. I remembered opening the confirmation email, hovering over the cancellation button. $12,000. Non-refundable. I didn't hesitate. I clicked. 2 days went by in a profound, unsettling silence. Then I got a message from Madison. "When do we leave?" I replied, "We're not. Trips canceled." No emojis, no explanation, just the blunt truth. She didn't reply right away. Then came the missed calls. Hers first, then our mother, then our dad, then her new husband. One after the other. I didn't answer a single one because suddenly, everything felt different. I wasn't just mad. I was done. And that was just the start. The silence didn't last. The morning after I told Madison the trip was canceled, I woke up to 12 missed calls. 4 from her, 3 from mom, 2 from dad, and the rest unknown numbers. I didn't bother checking them. I didn't need to. I already knew exactly who they were from. People from the wedding, family, friends, distant cousins she'd riled up.
It was a routine by now.
Madison doesn't argue quietly. She assembles. At 8:07 a.m., the family group chat lit up. Family trip February snowflake. I had made it months ago. And yes, I'd added the snowflake emoji because back then, it felt like something to look forward to. Now it felt like a trap. Madison's first message. "Wow. All this because you didn't like your table." I ignored it. I was feeding Liam waffles, letting him put 3 times too much syrup on them, savoring that small act of rebellion. Then she tried again. Not to sound ungrateful, but I honestly didn't expect just $500 from you. You knew we were short for the honeymoon spa. Thought you had it covered. I put my phone down and didn't pick it up for 3 hours. When I did, it was my mom's turn. "Mom, I think you misunderstood the seating. Mads said she just didn't want the kids getting overstimulated. Overstimulated? That was rich. Her kids sat front and center with bread baskets and tablets, while mine got shoved behind a speaker. And just $500? I'd given her $500, booked the ski trip, paid 3 months of her rent this year, and loaned her money for her dress alterations in May. That gift wasn't small. It was just the only one anyone could see. Then my dad chimed in. Dad, this is ridiculous. Emily, you're upsetting everyone. Just let it go, and let's have a good family trip. Don't let something this minor ruin everything. That was when it finally clicked. They were all waiting for me to be reasonable. That had always been my role. The one who smooths it over, fixes the mood, pays quietly, forgives quickly, keeps everything running. The mature one, the one who understands Madison's personality. They were used to me letting her slide. For years, I'd covered her shortfalls and mood swings because it seemed easier than the alternative. But I didn't feel mature. I felt used. And Madison knew exactly what she was doing. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a pattern. And for once, I had finally interrupted it. By the way, if you're still with me, make sure to hit subscribe. More unbelievable stories like this are coming.
I didn't reply to any of them that day.
I didn't apologize. I didn't explain. I made a cup of coffee and sat down at my laptop, opened my spreadsheets, and started doing the math. Madison's rent, $1,400 a month. I'd been covering it since she got laid off last December. First, she said it would be temporary. Then, she said they were waiting for her fiancé's business loan to come through. Then, she just stopped mentioning it at all. Utilities, $185. Cell phone bill. I was still on the family plan. Groceries. I had a standing monthly transfer set up for kid stuff that I never even got receipts for anymore. Over $2,000 a month, quietly bleeding out of my account. That was her real gift. By the time the group chat started arguing again, I was already on the phone with my bank, canceling the auto transfers. At 6:42 p.m., Madison sent one last message. So, you're really going to ruin Aspen for all of us over one petty moment. I didn't answer, but I did log into the airline account and cancel her flight, too. And just like that, the snowflake emoji in the group chat meant something else entirely. The day after I canceled her flight, I knew it was only a matter of time before someone showed up. It was 7:42 a.m. when I heard the knock. Not a normal knock. That kind of pounding you only hear in movies when someone's trying to stop a wedding or confess a murder. Liam had just settled into the couch with his cinnamon cereal, still half asleep, remote in one hand. I looked through the peephole. My mom. No warning. No, hey, can we talk? Just the frantic knock and her minivan parked diagonally across the driveway, half blocking my trash bins. I opened the door, but didn't invite her in.
Didn't need to.
She brushed past me like she owned the place and headed straight for the kitchen. I could already feel where it was going. She wasn't there to check in. She wasn't there for Liam. She was there to fix the situation, not for me, but for Madison. Her first sentence wasn't a greeting. It was, "You're blowing this way out of proportion." I didn't answer. I just leaned against the counter and waited for her to get it all out. And she did. All of it. Madison didn't mean to hurt your feelings. It was chaotic. You know how weddings are. You could have pulled her aside and told her. Instead, you punished the whole family by canceling the trip and embarrassing her. Embarrassing her? I asked one thing calmly. Did you know I was paying her rent? She didn't answer at first, just looked away, fiddled with her purse strap, then finally nodded. She told us it was just temporary, until she and Joel got their finances sorted. I asked again, my voice flat. Did you know I'd been paying it for 10 months? Silence. I told her I'd already contacted the leasing office. I was off the contract. January was on Madison now. And the rest, utilities, groceries, the kids' dental plan I'd been covering. All of it was done. My mom didn't take it well. Said I was being financially vindictive. Said I was choosing money over family. I asked her straight up if she knew Madison had expected me to pay for her honeymoon spa package on top of the wedding gift. My mom just sighed and said something like, "She's under a lot of pressure, and you make good money. You've always been the one who could afford to help." That's when I realized they'd all agreed to the story a long time ago. I just hadn't known I was in it. Later that afternoon, my dad called. I didn't pick up. Then a message popped up from a number I didn't recognize. Joel, Madison's fiancé, now husband, I guess. He said he hoped we could move past the misunderstanding and still do the trip. Said Madison had been crying and it was supposed to be a celebration. Said he didn't want things to fracture permanently. I didn't respond because Joel didn't get it. He was always the calm one, the peacekeeper, the guy who stayed out of the mess. But staying out of it is part of the problem when the mess is built on people like me always stepping in. By 8 p.m., the group chat turned into chaos. Dad, Emily, can we please talk? Mom, this isn't worth destroying your relationship with your sister. Madison, you've made your point.
Can you stop now?
And then the kicker. So now you're cutting me off after everything I've done for you? That line sat in my chest like a brick. Everything she's done for me. I read it 3 times. And then a 4th. Was she talking about that one time she let me borrow a dress in 2019? Or the time she stayed at my house for a week while she reevaluated her marriage but left her kids with me and disappeared with Joel for 3 days? She genuinely believed she was owed. My pulling the plug wasn't a boundary. It was an act of war. But it wasn't about revenge anymore. Not really.
It was about clarity.
For the first time, I wasn't rescuing anyone. I wasn't fixing it. I wasn't paying to be tolerated. I was watching everything fall exactly the way it should have years ago. And I wasn't stopping it. They kept trying to guilt me back into being the generous one, the nice one, the mature one. But I wasn't interested in nice anymore. I was interested in peace. 3 days after the wedding, Madison's rent was due. At 6:12 a.m., I got a text from her landlord. Not her, not Joel, the landlord. Apparently, even though I'd removed my payment authorization, I was still listed as the emergency contact. The message was brief, polite. We've been unable to reach Madison regarding her rent. Please advise. It took everything in me not to laugh. There it was. Confirmation that she hadn't even tried to pay. She was waiting for me to cave, waiting for me to snap out of it and swoop in like always, embarrassed at how long I'd let my little tantrum go on. I didn't respond to the landlord. I just forwarded the message to Madison with 5 words. Not my responsibility. Good luck. It took her 13 minutes to react. First came a voice memo, which I didn't listen to, then a flurry of texts. This is actually abusive. Emily, I have kids. You're putting me in a dangerous situation. Joel's waiting on a payment from a client. It's just bad timing. Then the ultimate kicker. If we get evicted, it's on you. It was so cartoonish. I had to reread it. Somehow, she genuinely believed my decision to stop supporting her financially, quietly, and without spectacle. Made me the villain. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. But I wasn't expecting what happened the next day. Joel showed up at my office. Not a call. Not a text, not an email. He walked in with a paper bag of pastries from some trendy little place near their apartment, as if a croissant was going to patch this up. My receptionist buzzed me. There's a guy here. Joel says it's urgent. I almost told her to send him away, but I was curious. I told her to let him in. He looked tired, not just wedding tired. The kind of tired that seeps into your bones when you've been pretending too long. He sat down, didn't touch the coffee I offered, just stared at the bag like it might explode. He started slow. Madison's struggling, he said. I think she thought you'd come around by now. I didn't say anything. She didn't mean to hurt you. You know how she gets. It all spiraled. I don't think she knows how to stop it. I'd heard all of this before from everyone but Joel. He'd always been quiet, always neutral. This was the first time he'd ever shown up in person. And then he said something I didn't expect. She's scared. Not of you. She's scared of what it looks like when you're really done. That was different. He wasn't pleading. He wasn't manipulating. He looked like someone who realized, maybe for the first time, that he'd married someone with no emergency plan except me. I asked him one thing. What are you going to do when she runs out of people to blame? He didn't answer right away. Just looked down, then finally said, I don't think I can keep fixing this for her. I'm not built for it. I thanked him for coming. He left the pastries. That night, the group chat went eerily quiet. Not a single message. No, have you calmed down? No, think of the kids. Nothing. It was like someone Dee finally told Madison the truth, that I was serious, and no one was coming to save her from this. Until around 9:30 p.m., when my dad broke the silence. I think we need to meet in person. The whole family. There wasn't going to be a family meeting. No intervention. No teary apologies or backhanded forgiveness. I was done performing family loyalty for people who only remembered me when there was something to gain. Instead, I did something else. I booked a trip. Not Aspen, not snow, no cabins or shared dinners or family chaos. Just me and Liam. We were headed somewhere warm, somewhere quiet, somewhere we could laugh and swim and eat whatever we wanted without being told we were too loud for the table. I didn't even tell them we were going because for the first time in years, I wasn't trying to include everyone. I was choosing peace over performance. And I wasn't going back. The shift came quietly. No screaming, no dramatic confrontations, just the slow, undeniable unraveling of a life built on borrowed support. Madison had stopped texting for a while after Joel showed up at my office. Maybe he told her how it went. Maybe she thought silence would scare me into reaching out first. It didn't. Instead, she moved on to Instagram, her favorite stage. She started posting those passive-aggressive stories she's famous for. Grainy photos of her kids looking sad in coats indoors. A close-up of a candle burning next to a cardboard box captioned, "Packing again." Another one of her living room with one throw pillow and no context. Some people don't know what loyalty means. The comments poured in. What happened? Sending love. Mama, where's your sister? Thought you guys were close. She didn't reply publicly, but she was working behind the scenes. I know because 3 people messaged me the next day, friends of hers I barely knew, asking if everything was okay. That's how Madison operates. She never asks directly. She just drops breadcrumbs until someone else picks them up and delivers the guilt for her. But I'd stopped being hungry. What she didn't post, of course, was how she hadn't applied for a single job in 6 months. How she had no savings, no backup plan, and no clue how many parts of her life I was still financially tied to until I started untangling. The rent payments were just the beginning. I sat down with my laptop and made a list of everything I was still paying for, things I hadn't thought about in years. She'd been added to my Costco membership years ago, still was. Amazon Prime.
Zoom.
Her kids' school lunch account, auto-funded for my card. The family phone plan, she was still on it. My Netflix, my Disney Plus, even a gym membership she never canceled. All attached to me. So I cut it all. Not out of anger, but clarity. One by one, I removed her. Logged in, canceled. Unlinked, deleted. And when I got to the dental insurance plan, the one I'd added her kids to because she'd cried on the phone about not affording their fillings, I hesitated for a second, but only a second. I removed them, too. They weren't my responsibility. Not anymore. That evening, she called. Not to argue. Not to apologize.
To beg.
She said they were 2 weeks behind on rent, that Joel's freelance checks hadn't come through, that the gas company was threatening to shut off service, that her kids had never lived in a place without Christmas lights before. I didn't say anything. I just let her talk. When she finally stopped, I asked her the only question that mattered. Did you ever plan to take care of yourself? She said, I didn't think I'd have to. That answer hit harder than anything else she'd said. She wasn't confused. She wasn't blindsided. She had simply built her life assuming I'd always be there, quietly holding everything up from underneath. And now, without me, the whole structure was collapsing. The next morning, my mom called. It didn't even start with, hello. It was, your sister is going to lose her home. I asked her if she and Dad planned to help. She paused, then said, we're retired. We don't have that kind of money. So I said it plainly. Then she'll have to figure it out. And Mom said, you're going to let your niece and nephew live in someone's basement. I asked her if that was what Madison told her. She didn't answer. The truth was, Joel had already taken control of the lease and was scrambling to make it work. He was working 2 jobs now. He'd started doing DoorDash after his design clients dried up. I knew he was trying, and for the first time, I respected him for it. But Madison, she still thought I'd come running. Until the eviction notice was taped to their door. She didn't tell me herself. Someone else did. A neighbor of hers I used to be friendly with, Jenna, sent me a picture of the notice with a message. Did you hear about Mads? Thought you should know. The photo showed a white piece of paper printed with all the legal trimmings. Final notice. Vacate by the end of the month. I said nothing. No response to Jenna. No message to Madison. No reply to the dozens of texts that followed over the next 2 days. Then finally, the Facebook post. A photo of her half-empty apartment. Just a rug, a chair, and her kids watching something on a laptop in the corner. The caption. Sometimes you have to start over with nothing. Hashtag new chapter. Hundreds of likes, dozens of comments. You're so strong. Sending prayers. You got this, Mama. I didn't like the post. I didn't share it. I didn't comment. Because starting over wasn't something being done to her. It was something she should have done years ago. I just stopped standing in the way. After that last Facebook post, the one with the empty apartment and the dramatic caption, things went unusually quiet. No sudden texts begging to talk. No sarcastic comments. No new group chats with forced family check-ins. Not even passive-aggressive Instagram stories. It was just silence. But I wasn't fooled. Madison doesn't do silence. She does planning. The kind of silence that comes before a strategic reappearance, usually framed as a comeback, usually centered on how she rose above betrayal. I'd seen it before, but this time felt different. Weeks went by. The holidays crept in. Liam and I decorated the tree ourselves. Just us. I didn't get a single invite from my parents. Not for Thanksgiving, not for Christmas. They were trying to force me into feeling excluded, like I was the one who stepped away. And they were right. I did. I stepped away, and I stayed away. One Sunday morning, while Liam was building a Lego spaceship at the kitchen table, I got the email. Not a text, not a call. A carefully crafted email with a subject line that made my stomach turn. Peace. No greeting, just a few paragraphs. She hoped we could eventually move forward. Said she was still hurt, but she understood my decision. Claimed she was in a better place emotionally and had started blogging to process everything. And then, casually, like it wasn't a loaded statement, she said she'd be writing about family and hoped I wouldn't be upset if some of it overlapped with our shared history.
There was not an apology, not
accountability. Just a heads up that I might be portrayed as the villain again, but this time in long-form blog content with pastel filters and quotes about resilience. I didn't reply, not because I was angry, but because I genuinely, finally didn't care. Instead, I booked another trip for me and Liam. Arizona. This time, somewhere dry and warm and quiet. We stayed in a small cabin near Sedona that smelled like cedar and had no TV. We hiked, fed alpacas on a little ranch, watched the stars. He asked me why we never did trips like this before. I told him the truth. Because we were always dragging everyone else with us. No more. When we got back, I finished the process of detaching. I took myself off the family phone plan. I blocked the group chat. I canceled the shared streaming services and created a new account just for me and Liam. I wiped out every financial tie and unspoken responsibility that I had never agreed to, but always upheld. My mom texted me in early December, confused. Did you change your number? I hadn't. She sent a longer message later. A classic. Families go through hard times. Madison's been humbled. She's starting over. You've made your point, Emily. Now it's time to forgive and come together. But the thing is, I hadn't made a point. I'd made a choice to be done, to stop financing someone else's delusions, to stop calling dysfunction family, to stop giving Liam front row seats to watch his mother be stepped on while smiling through it. Madison still posts her blog. The first entry that even hinted at our situation was titled, "When Your Sister Turns Her Back, But You Heal Anyway." I didn't even get the courtesy of a fake name. She painted herself as brave, painted me as withdrawn, claimed she used to lean on her sister until she learned to stand alone. Sure, except her standing alone now involved Joel working 2 jobs and her parents secretly pitching in when they swore they couldn't afford to. But I let it all go. The lies, the stories, the image she needed to preserve. I let it all float out of my hands like steam. And something strange happened in the quiet. I felt light. We did too. Liam was sleeping better, laughing more. One night, while we were watching a movie on the couch, he said, "I like it when it's just us." "Me too, kid," I replied. By the time Christmas rolled around, I wasn't checking for invitations. I didn't wonder what gifts Madison's kids got, or whether Joel was still delivering pizza at night. I didn't care what her blog said, because her story wasn't mine to carry anymore. I had my own, one with fewer people, less chaos, and more peace than I ever thought possible. I didn't lose a family. I didn't abandon anyone. What I did was walk away from an arrangement, a silent contract I never signed, where my love was exploited and my boundaries were invisible. And that, somehow, turned out to be the most liberating decision of my life. Have you ever felt like you were the fixer or the ATM in your family? What was your breaking point? Or what would you have done in my situation? Let me know in the comments below. I really want to hear your thoughts.